Alex Answer here. It is November 17th, 2016, coming to you from Off the Grid in Southwest Colorado. This shed that I'm in right now, this 10 by 12 with a loft built in, has only been on the property for a few months. I literally got ready for winter, you could say, at the last second. Came on the land for the first time in June of this year after years of travel. This is a new addition to the shed right behind me here. Shelving system for food and other things. And a bookshelf in the back, which I'm really happy to have. Makes me want to buy more books. A lot of books, a lot of the covers of a lot of books. Through the, we can see this one opened up here. Let's close that. Through the travel, back and forth, I've had certain issues with things getting damaged in the RV. This is my table here with all kinds of multimedia paraphernalia, as well as a bottle of Sriracha. And check this out. These are some spices that came in the mail from the nation of India. So, extra bag of quinoa. This is my second bag. This is my first bag. Some powdered milk, powdered scrambled eggs. That's wheat. I have a grinder so I can make some bread. Don't have enough food. Next time I go to town, I'll be doing that. So it's really a focused, minimalist lifestyle. Making extra money on the web, on the side. Not really selling anything at AlexAnswer.tv. No mugs, no hats. I'm just not really into that. A lot of people have asked me for years why I don't just do the cup thing. And being that I can receive packages here, I potentially I could send out. So it's something that I'll consider. If that's the way that some of you want to support the broadcast, support the video series. Over here, we have some water, propane. Made myself a little bench here. A little bit of sun up above. It's been snowing off and on since late last night. Winter storm advisory. I'll be snowed in within a few weeks. So most people will not voluntarily go into a situation where they're going to be snowed in. For me, it's like Zen in the art of staying in the same place and being just fine with what you have on your own where you are. Costilla County, late 2012, 2013, that was a rough experience in the yurt. Going from that to this, with internet, with just enough income to get by, it's a whole new experience. I also learned an important lesson. Sometimes the postal services will lose mail, and a payment that I sent out never got to the title company that is handling the payments for the land, which I'll be paying off for the next 4 years. There's a certain amount, a couple $100 per month that I got to pay no matter what. So yeah, there's a little bit of anxiety that I deal with when you hear about, oh my God, now I got to come up with 2 payments and late fees. So definitely in a little bit of a pinch going into the winter. But like other times in my life, I have everything that I need. Not everything that I want, but everything that I need. And it, in a lot of ways, seems like all roads have led to this point. So a practical, low-key, minimalist lifestyle. I'd like to be involved with others doing other things in the future. This is definitely, though, a time, at this particular period in time, it's definitely one in which I should be reflecting, recentering, focusing on my work. But at the same time that I'm focusing on my work, I also find myself very stressed out by certain things that are happening in the world. And I find myself, like before with my broadcasts, when I started my show after 9/11, a few years afterwards, but investigating right away. It was like therapy for myself, to speak the truth. And it is therapeutic. But when we start looking into the manufactured civil unrest game, and we start, especially if we're sensitive, and there's all those angry emotions that are aflame right now, literally aflame, tell people to rise up and fight the enemy. with all kinds of propaganda telling people who the enemy is. First of all, I don't want to be in that world. That's why I don't live in major cities or live in a major city anymore. The money that I earn, the little money that I make, is going primarily, the bulk of my financial investments primarily is going into land that I'm going to own. Wow, after years of working and paying for something that I'll never actually own. Now, being separate from a major city, though, doesn't take me away from all the pain and suffering and even anger and resentment and emotions within me that boil to the surface. Unresolved issues. I can see my unresolved issues more clearly. That's also part of the motivation of, the self-help, spiritual quest, off-grid living, to see your issues more clearly, to accelerate your healing, if you will. And that's really the intention behind going into nature for me. The idea of healing. If someone isn't healing in nature and they're not evolving and they're not progressing forward, their soul that is in some way, being idle, being dormant, being complacent, it can in some cases lead people to some unfavorable circumstances. And I think certain addictions, I think certain social ills, certain problems that people have, it really comes from not being aligned with who they are. I learned that early on. Now I understand with these cycles in our lives, and cycles within cycles, there's a time to be on a certain path, and there may be other times to be on another path. And all roads may seem to lead to a certain path once you get to that destination and you look back. And that's kind of how I feel now. Looking back at all these experiences, Portland, Oregon, Costilla County, traveling around in the RV. Before I even had the RV, I had at least 10 cars before all this. I've rented and lived in at least 15, 20 places. Up until 2012 or so. I had a lot of life experience by 2012, 2013, the period in which I went off-grid for the very first time. And what was it about being in the desert at the age of 33? And now at the age of 36, not being in a desert, but being somewhere where if I apply myself and I focus my energy and my attention towards growing food, being self-sufficient, this is really good soil. And it's a lot better soil than a lot of other places. So I'm basically tasked with self-responsibility. I can be aware of what's going on in the world. I can put energy and a lot of time into talking about some things that are going on in the world. And that is the number one thing in my life. But it's also presenting the spiritual message. And continuing to learn, continuing to seek, continuing to grow, continuing to read new texts. That's why I'm going to start reading more spiritual texts on this YouTube channel. And it's intended to balance out all that other stuff. Believe you me, you take on a lot of energy when you talk about this stuff on YouTube, and it's your lifestyle all the time. All the time. Aspects of the so-called real world, physical world, or immediate world around us can suffer. I think in my case, though, I persevered. I kept the goal in my mind's eye. It didn't happen overnight. And eventually I made it to my destination. And I have neighbors around me, and perhaps a few can hear me, at least talking, maybe not exactly about what. And I'm getting used to being more comfortable in the neighborhood and around certain people. At the same time, I keep my distance from most all people. Some people are suspicious about that. And then, of course, other people have empathy for that. It's also a very lonely experience to go a very long time without connections with certain people in the flesh, without a really long cuddle, for example, with someone that you care about. But you can rise above dependency for such things, and in doing so, you can reach a state of self-mastery. there's a sense of, like, even when something lifted from me, the idea of being snowed in and having all the things that I need for a few months and not being able to go to town, but having the internet to transmit outward. It's a very magical, powerful thing. And amidst all the chaos and propaganda, manufactured civil war, all these things taking place on the planet, I'm very focused and centered on gratitude when I awaken. And not specific times like when I awake, middle of the afternoon, not like praying 5 times a day, but do I take moments out to be grateful? To be grateful to the Creator for the things that I have? Absolutely. Because I know that which can be so easily given can be very easily and quickly, immediately taken away. You meet a situation where you're going somewhere and your car immediately ends up in a situation where there's thousands of dollars of repairs needed. And that can completely change someone's course if they don't have the money to pay for that. At the same time, somebody can have someone come into their world, for example, that can affordably do it, or for free, or a friend. And I'm just giving these as an examples. Synchronicities. There are synchronicities. There are ways in which the universe works in our lives. I want to keep this on a positive note. So, the opposite of succumbing to the mind control and propaganda is to, of course, be aligned with one's own truth and to be engaged in good actions towards others. If one is not infected with the illusions of separation, seething with hatred, then maybe their hearts will be filled with love. Maybe they will want to help others. They may not be suicidal, but they may be willing to sacrifice themselves, if you will, to help or save others. And I think that when you're in that frequency, when you're in that consciousness, that something is different about that person or that soul than the souls that are calling for blood in the streets, whether from the left or the right. And notice, again, it's happening all over. There's like these black dots popping up and down, or other dots of charged emotional colors popping up in people's minds. People think that they're in this alternative world on the internet, but the internet, there's something about the Wi-Fi, something about the supernatural periods that we're in now where the veils are thin. I'm telling you, man, it's like some people, they're touched. Some by something positive, some by something else. So some people have never understood my path and why I've gone off grid and why I'm just fine living in today's world without a lot of luxuries. And there's reasons for that. I'll also say that there's ways in which the propaganda, as well as the things that they're doing, are custom designed to put us in a state of fear, including myself. So part of the self-discipline, part of the self-mastery experience is continuing to be who you are regardless of the threats, the manufactured terror, the sense that the end of our liberties are near. Maybe not the end of the world, but the end of our freedoms. That there's going to be this, that, and the other. And I'll tell you what, to be someone that's commenting on World War III related topics, how do you warn someone about what you feel is to come, but at the same time tell them not to be afraid? That is a tightrope. But I'll tell you what, it's a tightrope, it's a path that I am attempting to walk. I'm going to be back with more videos, give you some more updates on the progress here on the land, getting ready for the second wave of snow. Of course, in between we have the sun coming through, charging my batteries. allowing me to have the best of both worlds. Alex Hansery sign off November 17th, 2016.